Koppel, host of the Time for Coffee podcast, where you get first-hand career advice into the jobs and industries that interest you the most. And before we start today's show, I have a quick favor to ask you. If you haven't already, I'd be incredibly grateful if you give us a rating and a review on iTunes. And if you're like me, you need to do it now because you'll forget later and because it's the best way to help others who may be in search of career advice to find this free resource. So press pause if you haven't done it and do it right now. I'll wait. Thanks so much and enjoy today's show. Hey there, Java Junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Dr. Amy Killen. What is driving the dysfunction in our sex lives? I spoke to my therapist. She's a mental health therapist. And she was saying she thought it was a huge availability and consumption of online porn.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, especially for younger men, mostly is what I see, but like younger men, if I have a young guy come in with erectile dysfunction or sexual dysfunction, I always ask about porn use because that is a major cause of dysfunction. Just seeing those images all the time, and you get that dopamine hit, and your brain is, your brain's on fire and it's super excited. But then next time you need, more stimulation. Like you got to you're increasing the stimulation and the types of porn that you're watching. And then a real person, they sometimes don't live up to sort of what's on TV, if you will. So I have people just cut out porn for a few months, and it can make a huge difference. It's a problem. Now, it's not always a problem. I think I have, a lot of people use it and they use it like responsibly. It's like drinking alcohol. Like if you can do it responsibly, that's fine. But if it's interfering with the rest of your life, then maybe cut back a little bit.
Yeah, that's great advice. In another post, you described yourself as the sexy mad scientist. I love that. It conjures up the image of you in your lab with all your potions and your lotions. So what is available today, Dr. Killen, to help hold back the hands of time? And personally, if I had my way, Father Time would be like tied to a bed, and he would be left in a deep, dark cave where nobody could find him.
There are so many things available. It takes knowing kind of where to find them. But we're doing so many cool things with stem cells, with exosomes, and like I said, which are growth factors, which we get inject, with peptides, which are things which are like medications essentially that are not medications that you inject at home. And there are things that you already have in your own body, and you're just giving yourself sort of more doses of them. There's a lot of, really great stuff with lasers and shockwave therapy and energy devices using light and heat and sound and, hyperbaric oxygen, ozone, like all of these things, you can use them kind of in combination. So, certainly if you go into my office, I got like a stack of like penis pumps on one side. I've got a stack of red light therapy, helmets on one side. I've got like a whole bunch of skincare on one side. Like I've got a whole lot of things happening, but there's always more out there. So I'm always like ready for the next thing as well.
Love it. Love it. So let's talk about stem cells. What are they and what do they do and how are they being used in skincare?
So stem cells are the cells in your body that you have all over. Every organ has has stem cells. They're the cells that are responsible for the repair and upkeep of that tissue. And they have 2 main properties. One is that they can divide, so they can replicate. The other one is they can differentiate, meaning they can turn into different types of other cells. And as we get older, what happens is our stem cell supply becomes less, and the stem cells that we have are not as active. So they kind of get a little bit lazier, which, makes sense. If I were to cut my arm, it would take me probably a couple of weeks to heal it versus my 11-year-old son who could cut his arm and it would be totally healed in like 24 hours. And that's because he has more and better stem cells than I do. So the stem cells are everywhere. So what we're trying to do with these stem cell procedures is essentially take stem cells from somewhere else in your body, like for instance, your bone marrow or your fat, where stem cells are pretty prolific. And we just can move them, for instance, for skin, I can move those stem cells and inject the face or the skin. And those cells will then tell the other cells that are already there to become more active. So they send out all these signals, and it tells your fibroblasts in your skin, hey, we need to make more collagen and more elastin and more hyaluronic acid. Like, what are we doing? Why are we sitting around? So it's kind of a way to activate that healing system. And we use stem cells for everything from helping to heal, knee pain to erectile dysfunction, to skin health, to growing hair. It's still in its infancy as far as a field and how, being able to use them in different procedures, but they can be really helpful, and they're generally very safe.
Sorry, I have like a tickle.
That's okay.
That I got in my throat. So how expensive are those procedures?
It depends on what you're getting done and what kind of, what type of stem cell or what type of other exosome or product like that. But they're several $1,000s. It's going to start probably at, $2,000 or $3,000 and then go up from there. And a lot of it's just depending on how we're getting them, what the process is, how difficult it is. These are not inexpensive, but at the same time, if you can repair your knee and all of a sudden you don't need surgery anymore, and you could do that with a simple injection, then that's great. Or you can repair your penis and you don't need a prosthetic or to take pills. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're seeing that are pretty fantastic in that regard.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to this latest episode of T4C. And if you're interested in learning more about my coaching services for confused college students and recent grads, feel free to check out the Time for Coffee website under the coaching tab at time4coffee.org or text me at 202-236-5712. That's 202-236-5712.